Recently, I sold my vintage King Seiko, a watch that I really enjoyed having in my collection, a watch that I actually wore a lot. When it came to selling it, however, I decided, well, I'm only going to sell it if I'm going to put those funds towards something a little bit extra special. Otherwise, I won't bother selling this watch because I like it so much. But I was on the journey at the time to try and buy myself a Grand Seiko. So I sold the vintage King Seiko to put that funds towards that Grand Seiko. And I did not end up buying the Grand Seiko. In fact, I made some different buying decisions. But I still didn't want to put that money towards something that wasn't extra special, or at least somehow linked to this watch, which is why I've ended up putting that money towards a modern day King Seiko. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. And yes, I'm talking about King Seiko and my excitement about these new releases. They've been out for a couple of years now, and I've constantly been drawn back to them. I even went to the store and tried one on, and I really enjoyed that on-wrist experience, and I was excited to own one. However, I chose not to buy one. And I chose not to buy one for two main reasons. Partly, the price. These are not a particularly cheap watch. And when you combine it with the second reason, the movement inside these watches, a 6R movement inside these watches at that price, it put me off buying one. It did not stop me liking them. It did not stop me keeping an eye on these watches, but I just knew that I wasn't comfortable with the price at full recommended retail price. And even on the second-hand market, as I've been watching them, the prices have been a little bit higher than I've been happy with, until obviously recently when I finally found one at the right price, and it finally arrived on my doorstep yesterday. So I want to share with you today my first impressions and the things that stood out to me most when this King Seiko arrived. Now, I bought this King Seiko SPB283 secondhand, but it was only bought from the authorized dealer not that long ago, and it came with this rather interesting Seiko pouch flag thing. I'm not quite sure what that is. But when I did get this watch, even though it was secondhand, there were 5 things that stood out to me. And the first thing was the packaging. And it's not so much that it's amazing packaging. It's good packaging. I do like it. But it's just that that is so different to any other Seiko packaging that I've ever had. Not just a weird blue flag, but you get this pouch thing. It's all very nice and soft inside. The watch is in this little sleeve here. Got a nice little pouch here, which I've got my little hang tag. As you can see, this one here is the King Seiko SPB283J1, made in Japan, which is quite a nice thing. But besides the packaging, there were still 4 other things that stood out to me. And that second thing is just how much light play that there is on this watch. With the case, but especially with this bracelet. I really like this bracelet. It has a lovely, glinting, sparkling look to it. Really nice case with the mixture of brushed and polishes, which just makes it sparkle. It really does play with the light. And as we look more at the case as well as that bracelet, it is the build quality that really stands out to me. You know, I've owned lots of Seikos and I really like Seiko, but this is definitely next level, which I would sort of hope for because of the additional price, because these are not cheap, which is why I bought mine secondhand. But the fourth thing that stood out to me is the subtle sunburst dial. This is a black sunburst, and in the shade or even in the studio, as you can see here, it just looks like a black dial. But when you get the light on it at the right angle, it just shines, which is really nice. But the thing that stood out to me the most, the 5th thing that stood out to me as soon as I was able to get hands on with this, is just how much I like it. I kind of hoped that I would like it. I kind of expected that I'd like it since I'd tried on some before, but actually having it in my hand for a little bit of time, I've just realized this is a great watch which really fits in with me and my collection well. I absolutely love it. But having a 37mm case size, I was a little bit worried that it would look and feel a little bit small, but I'm actually very happy with it. Partly I think it is because of these big sort of chunky lugs, gives the whole case a little bit more presence on wrist, but also it's the bracelet. It really sort of makes it feel a little bit bigger, a little bit chunkier, but I just think it suits this style watch as well. And I think it just fits down on my 17cm wrist really nicely. You don't even notice that 19mm lug width, which is a bit of an odd lug width, but it suits this watch with these sort of proportions. Now, of course, one of the negatives of this watch, or people perceive as a negative, is that 6R31 movement that is powering this watch. And it's not because it's a bad movement. People like the 6R movement. I like the 6R movement. It's the fact that this watch at full retail is 2,650 Australian dollars with a 6R movement, which is why I think if you're thinking about buying one, do what I did and buy it on the used market. I bought this one and it is in almost new condition with almost all of its warranty for half of that recommended retail. Guys, I'm going to be wearing this watch a lot because I think it's going to be something special for my collection, something that I'm going to enjoy wearing. So I'm going to come back in a couple of months and do a much more in-depth review of this one. But whilst you wait for that one, maybe check these videos out next.